Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. It is time for the monthly thank you reading. I started doing these the very first month that I was on YouTube, and I just kind of kept it up. I about a month later did another one, and the first time I was just overcome with thankfulness because I felt like I needed to branch out from personal readings and get this message that wanted to come out to more people. There was a story that wanted to come out. And I really didn't expect there to be very many people who would want to see it. I just was really hoping that it was going to get to the right people. So it turns out that there were more of you than I anticipated, and it's amazing. And you are amazing. So you write me so many notes that I can't respond to them all anymore. I do read all of them, but it's really amazing and fantastic. And the other thing is, we've seen so much progress on this journey, and I want to thank you for sharing that with me, and for sharing your questions with me, and for sharing something very deeply personal that I am aware that you can't just tell anybody. And in some cases, you actually just can't tell anybody, And so this is really a very personal and amazing journey, and I'm feeling very privileged to be a part of it with you. So I like to come out and do a thank you video, and what's special about it is that I put an extended on for no charge. So that's what we're going to do again today. And we're going to put a little fun video in the middle. Last month I did a tour of my space in the thank you video, and this month I'm going to do a little bit of a tour of my table. So I had one of my viewers asked for that, and so I want to go ahead and do that for you in the interim, where ordinarily I would just be shuffling in front of you. So you can see previous thank you videos by going to the bonus video archive, and then of course or the playlist, and of course it's always here once a month. So this is going to be a soulmate reading. It's a general reading, and it's for this collective, as always. So if this is the first time that you're tuning in and you're getting a bonus thank you, first off, you're going to see an extended reading for the first time. Secondly, if you find that this resonates, because it won't resonate with everybody, it's only going to resonate with people who are part of this collective, maybe check out some of the other videos or think about subscribing so that the messages can keep coming to you. So we're going to do it's a general reading, but it is a soulmate reading. So it's messages about the soulmate situation. We're going to start out by getting this current environment, this current read on today's energetic and emotional backdrop. It's been an interesting week. Started out, I think it was Monday, I woke up with my people were letting me know that communications had begun, but that things were kind of going well. Not, in one case, somebody had been in communication for a little while, and it was going well, which is a huge departure from previous weeks. Previous communications had mostly not been going so well. So we've got the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords. All right, so just to think a little bit about this. This is it's a card, it's an air card. It is about communication. And it's pages and it's swords, which is a double communication. We were just talking about this week's communication as it was coming up. So this has got a very light, communicative sort of feel to it, and it's also, I can't help, and this is kind of what got me when I first pulled the card out, I can't help but notice there's a little bit of a nuance of youthfulness to it, or almost naivete. I'm not sure on whose part. Okay, so we have the Six of Swords here. Six of Swords in reverse. So things are starting to get pretty wild and crazy. There is communication that's been happening maybe more than usual, and it's like there was this sense of almost letting down a guard somewhere, a little bit more vulnerability than expected. This is starting to, I'm just going to say, this is starting to feel a little bit overwhelming, but it's not super obvious yet if that's going to be a problem. This is a Six of Swords in reverse, basically just saying energy's kind of moving quickly, and not feeling like it's slowing down. That's the part that matters, the part where it doesn't feel like it's slowing down. So it also feels like it's a little bit difficult to grasp, to really get any traction in this environment. So it's the magician. This is the magician in reverse. The magician feels like a card of manifestation, of making things happen and of being able to make things happen. So I have to say, I'm not sure about that either. So we've got a little bit of, there's communication, but there's a little bit of a tentativeness. Maybe it feels like it's gotten a little bit too vulnerable, but I don't see a ton of anxiety coming out of it. So it's a really special environment, a really special kind of feeling in the air. It really, we started out this week and we saw that when your person tried to flip the switch for their defense mechanisms, those defense mechanisms didn't really come online. In yesterday's soulmate snapshot reading, we saw that some of those defense mechanisms seemed like they were starting to come online. I see here there's still some sputtering to it. There's a sense of not being sure. This is the Nine of Cups in reverse. It's all about having that wish fulfillment and knowing really what it is that you want. But in this case, it kind of feels like being out of balance and unsure. So there was something really exciting about getting to this place. But again, similar to what we saw back in April, now what? Now that I've gotten here, what do I do? I'm not exactly sure how to move forward. And this might be a little bit of a mutual energy for you guys, not being quite sure how to move forward. And we know that not everyone has had that communication. So in some cases, this is more energy of approaching, and then maybe a little bit of feeling avoidance. And so the Six of Swords and that magician really make me realize that there's a tentativeness in this energy. So this could be, if your person hasn't reached out yet, because a lot of people haven't reached out. And I know I've gotten a lot of messages from people who have, but there's a drive, there's a desire, they got to a place where they almost hit send, and with this they are keeping coming back to that place. Like, it keeps coming back to that place, and they feel pretty good when they're doing it, but there's something interesting about that I'm not sure I completely trust. It just doesn't feel like it's, I don't want to say it doesn't feel like it's real. It just feels temporary. It feels like this is, it could be Venus retrograde energy as it's hitting initially here, because that is that sense of internal reconciliation and wanting to kind of fix things that have been wrong within themselves. There is definitely, okay, so we're going to go ahead and take both of these cards the way that they came out. There is a sense of partnership that is very strong with them, and their ability to partner has been kind of coming on and offline. Interestingly, opposite whether or not their defense mechanisms are working. So when they flipped that switch for the defense mechanisms and they didn't really come on, their ability for partnership started to kind of elevate. And it's no, coincidence, obviously, but it's also not always the way that it's got to be. They have the ability to, and I'm fond of saying that once you figure out what's happening behind your issues, those defense mechanisms can be some valuable skill sets that maybe you've learned, and you can activate them when it's appropriate for the situation. So if you are someone who's a bit of a perfectionist and it's a defense mechanism, you might be able to fix what's behind that, and the sense of fear of rejection, which sometimes is associated with that. Let's say that's your issue and you solve that, then being able to utilize that sense of perfectionism, and it's just having it at the ready, could still be pretty useful. That's what we would ideally want for your person, except one thing we do know about them is they haven't really gotten very far through the healing process. However, there is still this sense that they've got those defenses not quite firing, and they've got a greater propensity for coupling up at this point, and really for partnering. This is true even in business, even in something that's not romantic, that their partnership abilities are going to be increased there. But there's something that's not quite opening. It's a door that isn't quite opening right now. One that feels like at this point it should be in the communication. At this point in the communication, the door should be starting to open, but for whatever reason, it feels like it isn't. So there's that little bit of a sense to it. It's very on the edge. I hope you guys are catching that from from this. It feels tentative to me. I'm sure it's showing up in my voice because I'm not usually a real tentative person, but I'm kind of like, oh, what is this? It's very okay. This is upright. We've got Five of Pentacles. This is just very unsure energy. It feels like it's not certain what to do. There is the fear. Okay, so the fear and energy moving very quickly at the same time, and these are the ones that we want from here. Oh wait, sorry, we want this too. Um, okay, so we've got the fear, and these are the big three popping up again. That's that fear of rejection, abandonment, betrayal, and those are really popping up as things are changing here in their life. So there are changes that are happening, and things are moving kind of quickly. There's a sense of things moving relatively quickly, but there's not a sense of them really having all of the faculties ready to manage it at this time. So there's this sense that they've got something else going on. We know that there's something happening with the third party in a lot of cases, and the third party can be work. It can be a spouse. It can be a significant other. It could be somebody else in their family. It could be, more than one of those things. They're not really prepared to handle all of what's happening here any more than they were the first time. But what's different is they've seen it. They already have experienced this bond with you, so that's why it's not completely running and hiding. But also, there's this general energy out there right now that feels like it's coming from that Venus retrograde that is really opening people up and kind of, I think that's what's responsible for when they flip those switches and things don't really turn on. I think it's the Venus retrograde that's kind of shut down those defense mechanisms to a certain degree. Um, let's take a look here and get some additional messages, because this was kind of that emotional backdrop, and I asked for it and I got it. This is a very tentative back and forth on the edge, not really sure of itself sort of emotional and energetic backdrop that leads with communication, but under the surface there's just so much more, and some of it's pretty fantastic, some of it's very like the Nine of Swords in reverse. The ability to not have the ability not to have the anxiety is really a fantastic thing, but not yet having this new perspective and not being ready to manage this, partially because of other things that are going on. Those are things that kind of work against you. So let's see what other messages want to come out for you here. And it's it's a really interesting time to be doing a wide open reading like this. I think maybe we'll do some wide open readings during the Venus retrograde, because it's a special feeling, but I think this would be, I don't know, I'm just glad that we're asking the questions that we're asking in the ways that we're asking them today. All right, we actually want, do we want all of them? We want all of them. My goodness, that's a little unusual. This is something that usually would happen more in one of those extended readings, but you'll see that soon. So we've got Pavo, which is really a fairly significant card. I'm just going to tell you what's coming off of the cards right now, because the feelings are coming off very strongly, and almost differently than usual. I really feel like I'm glad we did this reading today. We've got some Hanged Man energy here in the Capricornicus, which is similar to this, only over here we see the part that's not ready and not not really prepared for what's happening here. It's not saying that it can't get prepared during the process of communication, but I would say it's not prepared. This is the part that's allowed the communication to happen. There is something that has shifted, a new change, a new perspective, and it's really more on your person's part, because I feel like you got there sooner and then we're just waiting more or less for them to catch up. So we've got dramatic change happening quickly, and we've got a lot of new perspective that it's like they don't know how to drive it yet. Meanwhile, over here, and this is just kind of their energy, so I'm going to go with it. Meanwhile, over here, we've got this Page of Wands, which is again with the youthfulness and the naivete, but it's a lot of passion and a lot of drive forward. And it's a curiosity. It's ready to try new things and do something it's never done, you know. And so I question that with this energy over here, but this is really also, this is part of what you need to know. And with the Queen of Cups, that's love, unadulterated love. This is really, I think, what's driving, what's at the heart of these communications and this togetherness. So back in April, their energy became much physically, or not physically, spiritually closer with yours, while in a lot of cases they would reach out a little bit physically, but they weren't really making good contact. They would disappear again, or they'd start sending the one emoji answers, things like that. And to a certain degree, that there's a little of that still going on now, but there's a lot better conversation, a lot richer, more dynamic conversation going on, from what I'm hearing now. And it has a lot to do with what's been kind of sitting there with them. Even as they moved away, their energy stayed close. And so they are a little bit more comfortable with you now. They have had some of the fear fall away. This is the reason the Nine of Swords is in the reverse, and the reason that they're not full of anxiety with this, because they have some idea of what they're getting back close to again. So what's driving them coming closer to you, whether they've reached out to communicate or not, has a lot to do with this love, this new perspective. This is like the Tower, the Pavo, that is a lot like the Tower card, and it feels like this is a tower, but it feels like one that they're almost welcoming and intentionally allowing it to happen. And with this, it's, they feel like they've gotten to a place where they're more able to have communications, or more able to start reconciling. And this is a reconciliation that has to happen within the self. Because remember, we've talked about this on numerous occasions, reconciliation versus reunion, where reconciliation is getting things right and getting that alignment and that healing, the resolution, the closure. The reunion then would be coming back together. And that reconciliation has to happen within the self before it can really, really happen together. There's that investment. So we've seen in many of the readings that your person has looked back and said, I've made a mistake. There's a missed opportunity here. And they are seeing this as a time where they could potentially move forward and make that investment that they have not made yet, or that they did not make when they had the opportunity. They're trying to figure out how they can seek another opportunity, but there's a lot of complexities here, particularly as they revolve around that third party. But they do see this as being, there's that third party energy. They do see this as being very, it's like a almost a long-term goal to end up as happy as they were when they first came together with you. It's a strange feeling that I'm trying to put into words. An awful lot of it. It's almost like the color of these messages is different for me than it is on most days. And really, it's not all of a sudden today. It's what we've shifted and kind of bent into here these last few days. Okay, so let's take a look and see what else wants to come out for this. Not those. And then we'll see what this means for you, what that ought to be, what this will signify, and what you should do next. Then we'll get in and do the extended, and go a little bit deeper with whatever we feel like doesn't come out. But we're going to be doing it here. You won't going to have to click down below to get to the extended today. That's part of my thank you to you for being such a fabulous and amazing crew who has done so much learning in what feels like a short time. I came out here in September, and the growth has been stunning, even if you just watch how the readings have changed. So the Three of Rods in reverse, this goes along with that investment. There is something not set in motion that they feel like it's probably about time to set in motion. The trick here, though, is figuring out how to do it. They don't know how to do it, and they haven't got the wisdom that they need set aside, or they haven't worked up they just don't know. It's like they need to go back into their thinking cave and really think through how to make this happen. This thing that they seem to actively be jumping on in some cases. It's like they're already communicating with some of you, and or some of them are already communicating with some of you, and they don't have an end game figured out. That's what we're starting to see come over here, I think. In the energy, they're starting to get a little bit more concerned, and we saw that yesterday. We saw that there was a little bit of that freak out feeling there. um, okay, let's see. So with the Three of Cups, this is about that third party, but it is also about them not having been able to get into that thinking cave. Like, that's the distraction. But remember, and we've seen with this third party in the past, part of the reason that they are there, where they are, in this situation, with this third party, is because they have learning to do. That is teaching them something as well. So your situation has done amazing things. Oops, I dropped some cards. Your situation has taught them some amazing things, but they are also learning from this third party situation, and it's slow, difficult learning. They've got a sense of disappointment because they don't see the big picture there. So there's a sense that, oh, I feel like I'm never going to get these cards straight. There's a sense that they feel like they should have moved on farther than this by now. They should have figured something out by now. They shouldn't have allowed themselves to get into something. There's a little bit of a frustration in this Four of Cups, more than just the typical disappointment. Then we've got the Justice card here, which talks about wanting to do what's right. Wanting to do what's right and feeling like they can rely upon themselves to get to that point. That's a new confidence that I don't think we've mostly seen in them in the past. It's been very challenging for them. They don't actually know how to move forward. They just sort of know what it feels like when they're getting it right, I guess. And they have confidence. They have confidence that they're going to be able to get things right. So, interesting. This is a really strange energy, you guys. I think when we go into the extended, we're just going to continue pulling on this, and maybe even on this whole piece together, and say, okay, what else do we need to know, and leave it wide open like that. But I think before we do that, we're going to do the card, or we're going to do the question that we always ask, and that's, what about you? What is it that your focus should be at this time? This is a really strange energy, and it's impacting both of you. So what should your focus be at this time? And let's see, I could swear we had one. Yep, here it is. We've got the Five of Cups. Okay, so there may be a tendency, and yeah, this matches a couple of the notes that I've gotten, and I guess it started to look like a pattern, but I didn't want to call it out. Here it is, though. There may be a tendency to get a little bit lost in something that just feels like a strange, random sadness. There's a strange, random sadness that feels like it is maybe hunting you at certain times of the day. It's not your normal depression. It's more of an existential concern about time passing, too much time passing. There's a real deep sort of almost regretful sort of feeling, but not one where you did anything or could do anything. That's why it feels like it's almost around the passage of time. This is okay, the people that called, or the people that wrote in with this, were saying all of a sudden here, I'm just feeling like there is no hope, but then 15 minutes later it's gone. It's the weirdest thing. Or I'm feeling like, and these are almost direct quotes, but it's from my memory. And then another person said, I just wake up feeling so sad. The existential doom is incredibly strong, and then I think I distract myself and move on. Well, this has got that feeling to it. This isn't being sad about something that you did. This is about having a sense of sadness or displeasure about something that is just a factor. It's just something that's there. So we've got this Knight of Cups. There's a sense that it brings, okay, so you have to go into this. You have to go into this emotion. There's a lot of, you've gotten a lot of guidance to confront something that you've been avoiding these last few days. But here it's like, okay, that confrontation plus this energy is yielding something really special as far as this new kind of fear and impact to dreams that's coming out. You are encouraged to go into it as opposed to running away from it. Go into it. It's definitely not something that you may feel like you want to even experience any more than the edge of, and that is what it feels like you're experiencing. but you're encouraged to go into it. Maybe do some journaling. Maybe do some journaling and think it through, write it down, but don't get too in your head about it. That's kind of the advice that wants to come out. And I'm trying to translate what isn't words at this point. Sometimes I get direct words for you guys, and then I say things that are pretty uncharacteristic of me. That's always fun. But this was not that. This is just, it wants you to, the message is to think it through, write it down, but don't think too much. Like, don't use your head too much. Use your heart for this one. There is a sense that you're going to be safe and you're going to be victorious. Whatever this is, you're prepared for it. It just doesn't look like it's necessarily comfortable. There's something about the search in this, with the search that we've been talking about, and you have some idea of what it is that makes you happy. You're a little bit closer to understanding your own Nine of Cups maybe than your person has been. But both of you have needed to go on this quest, and that's not a bad thing because it's just something that kind of happens throughout your life. We've got the Four of Swords here, which talks about your healing, but here's that Death card again saying maybe there's not as much progress on this thing than as you'd like to be, because there's a decision that you're going to need to make around it. And that Queen of Rods that was going to come out there but wasn't for us at this point in the reading would have been super convenient because that's the drive you need to get you there. So there's that Death card. There's that change that you've been avoiding. The thing that it's a shift. It's something that you know needs to change. I've used the examples of like quitting drinking and quitting smoking because I think they're great examples because you can get alcohol or cigarettes if you anywhere. You know, they're very easy to get, and so it's an easy thing to continue doing or an easy thing to not stop doing. It's socially acceptable, or it's at least socially out there. You can be doing it out in public, things like that. And so I guess my point is, it's not, the environment does not necessarily support you making this change that you know you need to make. And yet, you know, you need to make it, but it's a decision. It's like you have to just make a call and say, this is how this is going to be, or this is how it's not going to be. But it's a factor in your healing, and you even starting with this is starting to pull up the edge on what we're looking at here. Okay, so we're going to get into the extended, and I'm going to, actually, I'm going to cut the video and I'm going to insert one about me showing you what's in my table and kind of why it is what it is, and answer a couple of questions about this. However, what I usually do in these readings where I do the thank you reading is I pull all the cards together, I shuffle them here right in front of you, and then I lay out the extended. So you'll see it go to my other little video and then come back to this, but I'm going to go ahead and shuffle in between. When it comes back, what you're going to see is I will have taken everything and shuffled it, but we're going to talk a little bit more about this and just get some more messages, because this is super weird. This is almost like a dream. And it's like it's got that weird dreamlike quality to it, but also it's like the colors are different. Everything about this energy between you is different. It bears exploring, but not at the expense of this. So we're going to look at this too. We kind of have a few very powerful cards. It feels like a bunch of cards kind of spluttered out to talk about the soulmate situation, and I never know how many cards it's going to be. It is what it is. It was like you needed one card practically here. Well, I think you needed this one. Actually, you know, it could be said you needed all of them, but these are a few very powerful cards that have come out to talk about this. We can't lose sight of this. So we're going to talk about this in the extended as well. I don't know how many cards. Maybe it's half the table, but it's very important that not only do we follow this, but we also follow what's happening with you, because there is something dovetailing together as this relationship and your development are very much intertwined. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. And when we come back, we'll be in the extended. Enjoy learning about what's on my table. All right, so welcome to a tour of the table for Silver Tears Tarot. I did a tour of my space last month, so you can kind of see how the table is situated in the room. And then this month I'm doing a tour of the table. So this was a request from a viewer, and I am so glad you asked. So this is something that actually means a lot to me, but not something I necessarily talk about very much. So I'm happy to give a brief tour. The overall theme of the table is balance. I wanted balance across the four directions, across the four elements, and just sort of representation of all those different elements and suits of the tarot. So here we have the cup. The cup obviously represents cups in the tarot. It's also it's water, and so I have a couple of trinkets inside there, a couple of special mushrooms, and then also this one is a magic wand. I just really love that charm and feel very, I just really like it. So I kept that one in there. And so that's what I have for cups. That's what I have for water. The singing bowl is air, and I will play it for you so you can hear the marvelous tone that it has. So hopefully that comes across on video, as well as it comes across in this room. I absolutely love that. This selenite tower, the selenite tower is earth. It's pretty fantastic. The tower, the fact that it's a tower reminds me a little bit of change, the tumultuous changes that bring us to where we are, but it also represents earth to me. So it's like pentacles and just all of the coins and all of the pieces that are associated with earth. I'm a big fan of selenite. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that I used to use it on top of my cards. And then of course I also have a selenite moon over here that has, it's filled with a variety of heart-shaped crystals. So selenite is all about purification. And so this is like purification of the heart chakra for me. And it's the ability to give and receive love, which you'll recognize as one of my mantras if you watch this channel or if you watch my mantra video, which is also in the bonus playlist. And then the remaining element is the fire. So in the backdrop, the actual backdrop, I have a tapestry hanging here, and what's happening on the bottom of the tapestry, it's a sun, and it represents fire for me. And so there's all four of my elements. Now I've got water, air, earth, and fire all represented, and then I got an awesome custom sign made from a maker on Etsy. So in the middle, I got this as a gift. This I set on my table the day that I got it, and I loved the way that it looked. Then I noticed how much I loved the way it felt. So I shuffle the cards each time and I meditate. And then you'll notice I pretty much always, well, I have to touch it in order to pick it up, but I also usually will connect with it in some way. This does such a nice job of disseminating the energy across the table, and it just makes it feel more even somehow. Then I set it off to the side and everything kind of starts on what feels like the right kind of, it just feels like it's right. And as for the stones that I use on top, so I love labradorite. This is two varieties or two different colors of labradorite. So labradorite has some darker elements and some lighter elements, and I actually have another one over here that I think has a little bit of both, just to kind of show you. So you see some of the lighter over here and some of the darker throughout. But these, I use these because labradorite is about transformation and intuition. And so one of the things that this collective is really about is moving into something new. That transformation piece is significant. Intuition is that piece that we constantly need to reconnect with. And then opalite, this is an interesting one too. So opalite is actually a synthetic stone, which means for me, it's a little bit of that magician energy, a little bit of that manifestation energy. And because it's a stone that helps you again with the transformation, but also digging into the traumas of the past and kind of getting them out there where you can see them. So you'll see a lot of opalite, and you all along will likely have seen a lot of opalite from me. So that's what's on my table. Thanks again for asking the question. And now I return you to the extended reading. Okay, and so here we are with the extended. Hopefully that was fun. Obviously, it was not recorded at the same time because I was shuffling just now. So we're going to go ahead and jump in, like I said, and we're going to get some additional information for you, some additional information that wants to come out about the overall picture. We didn't ask a specific question today, but one of the things that we asked for was the emotional and energetic backdrop, and it was just absolutely, as you saw, completely variable. So we've got the Knight of Wands coming out. So we had the Page of Swords that came out talking about communication, and then we had the Page of Wands that came out about kind of describing a little bit of why they are where they are, why this is where it is. And this dispenses with a little bit of that youthfulness, and it's more of a card of action. And this is why those of you who are receiving communications are receiving communications. I feel like we need to get something else from this deck. So if you see the extended videos, if you get in and watch those, then you'll notice sometimes the format doesn't follow the format of this exactly. Wow. Okay, so those aren't part of it. They don't have the right glow. Here's that Page of Swords again with the communication, and this is the Six of Cups, but it's in reverse. So the Six of Cups in reverse is an interesting one because this is them, on some level, they are still really, really trying to resist getting too mired in this. It's not so much that they don't want to think about what's happened with you in the past. It's that they're now feeling like they're a little bit caught trying to remember what's real and what's not. I mean, they don't think that on a conscious level. It's interesting. Let's get a couple more, or at least one more. Excuse me. I feel like there's at least one more that needs to come out here. But yeah, there's this feeling of them going, wait a minute, what really happened and what have I thought since then? But like I said, maybe not in those words. They've got a little bit of a lack of self-trust there, and a lot of change. Whew. All right, we're just going to read this like this. I think I'm going to move it up a little bit. Let me explain what's happening here. So I'm going to break this down for you a little bit, so you can see what's happening. And it's really, this is the most powerful piece right here. So this is like the Tower. We saw this come out earlier. And this is there's a big shift emotionally that's happening with them right now, like a huge emotional shift that's happening with them right now. Has to do with healing, even though the Four of Swords didn't want to be part of this part of the reading. Might be saving itself for your part of the reading, but this is wild because it's like they don't really have a lot of trust for themselves, which is hearkening back to this here, also hearkening back to their feeling a little bit naive. They don't know what they don't know, and they're concerned about what they don't know. Here, they don't know what what to perceive as real and what not to, because they can't really remember. A lot happened in their brain, and now they're trying to figure out, because they're not feeling like it's consistent with reality. They're trying to figure out what is, but not entirely consciously. It's hard to describe that one, but this is really a lack of trust. So this is going to be them doubting things. There's a rebirth here. There's a concept of rebirth here as part of this change. So it's very much like, when I read this, it breaks down to these, and this is now clarified out to those. And yet we're going to clarify, we're going to pull some additional cards to clarify this overall mood and these messages. So with the Phoenix here, there is a sense of rebirth, but it's a sense of something having to, there's too much happening in the space. The town's not big enough for all of it. So with the Death card and with the Phoenix card, it's a sense of death and rebirth. However, if you don't have the death of the old thing, the rebirth of the new thing can be stunted or won't necessarily be able to run its course. That's what I'm seeing a little bit of here. But I also see them, their passion and kind of trying to, well, let's see if I could keep this in a holding pattern, but a better holding pattern. So if you've been watching this channel, you'll know that they have wanted to keep you in a holding pattern for a long time. But here, it's like I said, they're wanting to keep you in a better holding pattern. So for those of them who have reached out and have begun to establish communication, they still aren't exactly sure what to do next, but they're getting some sense that they don't want to let go of it exactly. And for those who haven't reached out, there's this very strong sense to reach out, but on the other hand, it's like, oh, maybe I'm not ready yet. I should reach out. All of this evidence, wait, I'm not convinced about this evidence being correct, or I don't really remember. I don't really know. There's a lot of I'm not sure. I don't trust my own instincts. I don't trust my own understanding of what has transpired. There's certainly an element of that. Huh. So that's a lot of cards. So that's where we'll start here. And I'm going to set these kind of off to the side so that we can get a few more cards to come out with them. But for here's kind of our slanted pyramid up there to get everything in. And now you know why I have these items on my table. So you understand that there's supposed to be a balance in that energy. It's kind of part of the reason that it all surrounds us like this. And if you go back to the very early video, I had done like the very first ones, I had done something a little bit different that had the same meaning, had the same purpose, but it was too busy, so I had to remove some. And you'll notice little changes from, once in a while. So we've got the Emperor card that's come out here in the reverse. This is a little bit of a warning, like if we had a Divine Masculine that was watching this, and I know we have had some Divine Masculines watching this in the past, haven't heard from my Divine Masculine, not my Divine Masculine, but we have a resident Divine Masculine on this channel who will sometimes communicate directly to me and say, hey, came back in a couple months ago, I think it was, to say, I just thought I should, since all the Divine Masculines are coming back now, ha. But it was one of the things that has rung out, and people have continued to write notes. It's when this Divine Masculine gave us messages from like his perspective. And the first thing he said was, or the first thing that I gave you guys that he said, because he gave me permission to use his words, was that I'm as surprised or I'm as confused as you are. And I know some of you have really taken that one forth because it rings through in these readings. It's so real and so true. And I would just ask that Divine Masculine, if you're still out there and still hearing us, let us know like what is going on with you during this transit, because with this Venus retrograde energy, things are pretty wild. And I just, I'm curious, definitely curious to understand what's going on. But for those Divine Masculines who are watching, this is kind of a warning, and to a certain degree, the Divine Feminines, this is a warning that this is a frustrating time, and you may feel a need to kind of try and control it, and that's those defense mechanisms being allowed to kick in. It does seem like the switch has been flipped, and most of those defense mechanisms aren't really switching on. Don't try too hard. It will create self-sabotage. This is a vulnerability that it's a good place to be. It's just a matter of now both of you have to be gentle with each other and decent with each other. There's the Death card in reverse, and then we have the Ace of Pentacles in the upright. There's a new door that's basically opening that you guys have been working towards this incredibly slowly. Every time that Knight of Pentacles has come out in previous readings, and it's one of those that kind of quietly comes out and says, okay, you're still moving in the right direction. You're still putting one foot in front of the other. This is the place that you're going. It's an incredibly slow energy, maybe the slowest energy in the entire tarot. And it is, but it's also the most reliable, in my opinion. It's one of those things that I can really say I appreciate about the Ace of Pentacles, and to some degree the Knight of Pentacles. That's my favorite knight from that standpoint as well, because they're consistent. You know what you're getting. It's very what you see is what you get, but they're also they're not moving, and you can't speed them up. I'll just say that. So the Death card in reverse, there is, this reminds me of the Death card that's in the upright over here, but it's just because this one shows so much resistance, and this one shows rebirth without death. This is resistance to that concept of the death. Okay. Let's look to see what else comes out here, because this is a, like I was talking about, it's kind of got this, it's got a dreamlike quality to it. It's, these messages are almost coming out in a different color. So we've got the world. This is that, okay, how can I put this into words? There's an end point that you're both seeking. It's not really, like once you stop, you move, like once you stop, it's all over. It's just, it's the end of a cycle that allows you to move into a cool new cycle. But you can't get there until you pass judgment. This tells me that you're going to pass judgment. So that star that we've seen in reverse, and now I'm hearkening back to all these other old readings, but we saw the star in reverse so many times saying there's a delay, there's a delay. Well, it's still not here yet, but this is where you're headed. And this Emperor energy in reverse with the attempting to control things too much, that is what's going to threaten it. So this is a place that you really want to go. This is everything passing judgment and everything. There's a lot of respect for self, mutual respect in there. Again, we've got this Nine of Swords saying that there's a sense of, I just keep turning over too many cards. There's a sense of not having that, it's anxiety, but it's also, it's a not being able to calm down kind of energy as well. And yet it's all being bypassed. Your person, and possibly even you, are feeling much more comfortable in this communication if you're in communication. Much more capable of doing this because you've seen it before, so you're not new at dealing with one another. But not all of you are in communication. In some cases, it's just that energy that seems like it's getting almost nestled in and nested in, and the two of you are getting so much closer, like spiritual spooning, you know, but it's, there's a desire to reach out and communicate, and the thing is, you'll both really be able to feel that. So here's our Page of Pentacles. Page of Pentacles is about learning, and it's about lessons that are kind of coming to them as they're going through this period. So what I mean by this period is ever since about Monday, when we saw that all this communication was happening. And it was, I think actually it was Wednesday we did the soulmate snapshot, and I kept referring to it as yesterday, but it was yesterday where the feelings kind of started to come out, where, oh, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of things that are kind of self-destructive hiding in the depths here. With this Page of Pentacles, though, there are lessons coming out. These are still happening. So this is like, this person has found ways to learn lessons in separation while they're actually in contact a little bit. And even though some of that is like spiritual communication, spiritual contact, and some of it's real 3D communication, and they are still pulling away for long enough for the lessons to start to set within them. I guess this is really a lot of movement. Things are happening while change is happening while they've set down roots, kind of. They're starting to make a connection with you that will be very difficult for them to continue to make all of these changes. And that's why we get a little bit nervous, because what we don't want to see is for them to uproot that emotion once again and completely disappear, and maybe even have their spiritual energy move away, making it even less likely that they're going to come in contact. And to do so, coming in contact is a bit of a mixed blessing when the healing isn't done. And so at this point, the healing isn't done. So if you're receiving that contact, realize that there's a certain degree of disappointment that still sits within them, and yet a lot of desire and passion and attraction. They cannot seem to come off of the passion and desire and attraction. It's almost like it's a foregone conclusion. It's when they wake up in the morning, they think, oh, am I still gonna, yep, I'm still gonna feel like that. I mean, it's just automatically happening. It's this attraction is something that has become a part of them at this point, but they're incredibly disappointed with the way that they've handled it in the past. It's like when that Seven of Pentacles has come out in the reverse. I didn't invest when I should have, and now they kind of have this feeling feeling. We saw the Seven of Pentacles coming out in the upright. They kind of have this feeling like this is maybe a better time to be investing. Here's this Queen of Cups again. It came out earlier, and so did this Hanged Man, but this came out of the other deck. And here's this Four of Swords that just keeps coming up and then kind of saying, I'm an honorable mention, but I'm not part of the reading. So I'm going to leave it here so it can be an honorable mention and do this in the, oh my goodness, in the order that they came out. So we've got the Queen of Cups, which talks about an immense amount of love. Now, when we have the Queen of Cups come out in the upright, it is just unadulterated love that flows with no end. In the reverse, it is often, it can be a little bit smothering, it can be a little bit codependent, it can be a lot of things. I'm not saying that the smothering and the codependent is not existent in this energy somewhere, but that is not what comes up. What comes up is truly the love. This is a lot of amazing love energy that's coming out in these cards, and we can feel it in the energy. And I feel like when I got in to do this reading this morning, I was kind of like, I cannot even imagine what is about to come out here, because in my meditation I couldn't even understand what had happened. And this is, I would say, a fairly accurate representation of the kind of colors that I was seeing. You know, it's just, it's very things are new and unformed and changing as we're looking at them. That is what I will say. And yet there's still this sense of them being able to move, unable to move forward completely. We saw this in the first reading before the extended. And it came out, it was that exact card from this deck, and it came out basically saying, because of what's happening with their third party and the lessons that maybe they haven't kind of finished there yet, they definitely have some things that they're not quite ready to address here with you. So, and I've said this before, there may be another period of separation, or you may be experiencing kind of really small periods of separation in between if it seems like they completely disappear and then they come back and communicate, but it's happening with greater frequency now. They're still not healed. It's the underlying message. No matter what you are or are not getting from them, they are not healed. But yet all of this emotion is boiling within them, and they need the pressure to come off a little bit. So that may be why in some cases you've received messages, but then kind of not much follow-up. You got the Seven of Swords in reverse here, though. They feel like they're doing the right things and building, but they don't feel like they can build the right strategies. There's also not enough stability here for them to feel really comfortable in what they're doing, and yet we see with this Nine of Swords over here, can't stress it enough, this is a completely different and foreign energy to them. They are usually like this with regard to this situation. For them to get this emotionally or energetically close to you, and in some cases actually having some form of communication, that would usually cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of sleepless nights. Here, though, we're not seeing that. And so it's a really unique, like I said, a foreign type of energy to them, because they typically don't get to, it doesn't happen very smoothly like it is happening almost smoothly here. But they are saying, wait, I'm really not so sure about this. And this is why I feel like there may be additional running away. I don't get the sense that they're running and hiding the way that they usually do, because as we saw, their defense mechanisms are not quite working for them right now. Now we do have the King of Pentacles here, which is part of what they haven't solved. It's part of the healing that hasn't been done, and it speaks of them not feeling, I guess, worthy of what is coming for them. They don't feel like they deserve it, truly, what's coming for them. We're going to do let's do a card, an oracle card specifically for this, and then we're going to turn over to you, because this is changing so much as we're looking at it that it's like we're watching it on the day that it's changing. Although, to be frank, it's been so much change these last few days that I suppose any one of these readings could have come in like this. All right, so we've got the True Love card, and these I always just kind of read in the upright. The True Love card here is all about self-love, though. That's an important thing to note about the True Love card, because it means, okay, so we saw that something had shifted within them that had allowed them to get to a place where they are feeling a little bit differently about things. And that's definitely true. But what's shifted has to do with that self trust that's been growing within them. This self trust they could not have, like, they've certainly, there's a lot of doubt there still. They're still not sure what they truly believe. There's a little bit of lack of clarity and things like that, for them. But that's something that they're going to be continuously working through. What I like about this is that part of the corner that they've turned has been more of a self trust and a self love. They have more, they feel like they're more capable. I don't know that they're actually more capable, but they feel like they're more capable now, after this ride that they've taken. But realize that the lessons that they were learning, those started, early on. Those started early on. They were already in those lessons when you came to them. So, we're going to switch over to you now. This is wild. I think we need to understand what your person wants, but I don't think today's the right day to ask. Let me meditate on it tomorrow, and that may be, the question that comes out, because I had actually gotten this question from a couple of you a couple days ago, and it didn't feel like the right time to ask the question. So I've noticed I get these trends of questions from you, but I don't always, when I get them, I'm like, oh, hold on. I think maybe we don't ask that question. And so you guys have heard a little bit about that. If you've been listening to the channel, you know that. But for the most part, I like to make sure that I'm answering the questions that you write in with. So that is something I'd like to answer. And it's something that comes out to me like, what does this person want? There's so much going on here, and there is so much going on with them, just what do they want? Let us know what it is that this person wants. And but I don't think, like I said, today is the day to get into that, because I think things are changing too quickly. Um, let's look at you. So we've seen some really powerful messages coming out for you, and we just heard about this existential concern that you may be waking up with or having at different times of the day. Um, but it's something that you need to this is an opportunity. It's a unique opportunity for healing for you at this time that you may not be presented with quite like this ever again. I mean, it's got that Venus retrograde energy written all over it. This is a great time for resolving things, and you have the right energy to resolve right now. So, with the Five of Swords in reverse, this is a card of making sure that you're doing things for the right reasons. It can be a card of often fighting the right battles or the wrong battles, or choosing your battles more carefully. In the reverse here, it suggests that you're able to choose your battles more carefully, and that you're able to not throw good energy after bad. There's a lot of you being a lot more okay with yourself, regardless of what's happening over here. And we know that that's really, a lot of shifting energy. This has been new learning, just getting to the place where you're comfortable with yourself, even with your person's energy so close to you. This has been something that, we've been hearing about and reading about since, that Mercury and Pluto retrograde mixed with the moon phase and the eclipse in April, when all of a sudden people started coming out of the woodwork, but not necessarily in a great way. So we have this magician. This is your ability to manifest and to, I guess, influence what's happening around you. But it is not the sort of manifestation that you see with the Emperor in reverse, where you're trying to strong arm things into being, what you want them to be. This is that manifestation, co-manifestation with the universe. That is, much, much healthier. There's happiness here. You have, a very thin veil between you and something incredibly happy. But there's a recognition in this. It's a, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others and their role in your pain. It is being able to live in that brings you an immense amount of, an increased ability to have gratitude. And you already are going to have a lot of gratitude going when this happens. So you have, you're moving toward an energy that that's what happens when you go into that fear. You'll find that there's something that needs to be tweaked, a perspective that needs to be tweaked, and that's, where the edges of happiness will start coming out where you would least expect it, because you'll be looking at something that you would think would not make you happy, and it will make you happy because you're grateful for it. You're grateful for the experience, for the lessons. Um, and now I'm starting to sound like my mantras video. I did a video a while back around meditation, and another one by request on what my mantras are, because I quote them a lot. And so I just quoted a couple of them there, and they just kind of came out. It wasn't, I don't push it on you. It just sort of happens. We've got the Ten of Pentacles coming out in the reverse here. So there's something happening with your environment that, again, you're going to be looking at something and being very happy with it, and realizing that you trust yourself enough to be able to manifest things the way that you need them to be, that whatever is happening in your environment is not necessarily a problem. You know that even though, okay, so that's it. You know that it's like, you're going to be able to have time stand still. This is the time standing still sort of feeling. It's the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. It's change not happening and not coming from the universe, but it's got that time standing still sort of feeling to it. And with the Hermit card, we also have, you need to go in and get the wisdom that's here. But again, no rush. You keep getting this. Hey, there's more wisdom for you to get. There's something that you need to understand. There's healing that needs to happen for you, but there's not a rush on that healing. So we do want the Seven of Pentacles, but we want it in the upright. Okay, so this had come out kind of it was sitting there and in the reverse, and it didn't have the glow. And I always think, if I put a card back, it'll come back if it's supposed to. Like the Ten of Pentacles came back, and so has the Seven of Pentacles. But this one came back a little differently. So this is a time for you to invest in yourself, and that's what you'll be doing when you go into your thinking cave. You're not being encouraged to hurry, but you're also being asked not to spend too much time with this suspension. This isn't really your doing, but it's co-manifested, co-created with the universe, this manifestation of stopping time. You needed this. You needed to stop time and create a little bit of space for yourself to build a new perspective, and that's what you're doing. This situation over here is part of that new perspective. Just like your third party is, or your person's third party is teaching them some things that they're going to be able to pull into this situation. Your own existence is giving you some information that you're going to be able to pull in and gratefully give to this relationship when the time is right. So you've got this already set into motion. There may be a little bit of patience or impatience that you're feeling with this, because there's a lot going on. I mean, and the other piece of it is you've got pressure to change something about yourself so that something beautiful and new can come out. This is part of the beautiful and new that's trying to come out. And it's very difficult because you have to rely on yourself being able to break a habit or change something before this can truly be able to manifest. And yet I feel like it's going to be bursting out through the edges beyond whatever's blocking it, which is that thing that you need to make the change to. There is a lot of passion here. So we have talked historically about something that would be here to set your soul on fire, and it's an opportunity. You're bursting with opportunities at this point. And with this Ace of Rods, I feel like that opportunity that would set your soul on fire, so many of you wrote in to tell me that you had found it or you knew what it was, but you just couldn't give the energy to it. This is you being able to give the energy to it. And to those of you who are still looking for it, it is a matter of open your eyes to the opportunities that are around you, because they're going to start to look different. There's something there that you're missing it because the time isn't right, or you've been missing it because the time isn't right. And I know it's super frustrating, especially because if you're getting in here and hearing these readings and I'm saying, oh, go toward the thing, and you're saying, where's the thing? It's right in front of you. Well, I don't see the thing. I mean, so it's very frustrating, and I get that off of this card too. But the thing is, until it's time, until you're ready, it's not going to present itself as that opportunity. I'm just here to tell you that it's going to be there. It's there when you are able to see it, when you're ready to see it. And you may be seeing quite a bit, actually, because there's a lot of opportunity just kind of blooming in front of you as well. So we've got the Knight of Swords here. Okay, so this soulmate, the new soulmate that's coming in, has not has not been in the last few readings very strongly, but yet I've been getting notes in the background saying I met them. Oh, and by the way, I'm not really sure what I think about this. This is not a romantic. I have been saying that this soulmate might not be particularly romantic, might be more of a friend, could eventually turn romantic, but it's not super clear if it goes that way. Again, though, like this person's third party, this is somebody who teaches you what you need in order to move forward toward reconciliation and possibly reunion with this person if that's the direction that you want to go. Well, so here's our first sign of that other soulmate coming in, and there's definitely some indication that of that person being triggered and triggering you. And this is not surprising if you've been watching the readings. That's how it has been working. But it's amazing because you are going to be able to make it right. This Justice card is really just it's an honorable mention, but it's reinforcing the Temperance card about making it right and creating the balance that you need to create. And I do want to get you an Oracle card for your side as well. So there's work that you need to do. You're already moving in the right direction, but it's just glorious what's coming from it. So we've got the Intention card and Peace. It really reminds me of this Temperance here. There's such a go with the flow sort of feeling here with the Peace card and with the Temperance card. It's very much like what I was saying with the Sun card, where you find happiness while you're sitting there staring at something that you might think otherwise could create some unhappiness in you. So it's a really nice, peaceful, beautiful thing. Peace is that bottom line, and that's what the meditation can be as you're moving toward this. You want peace, gratitude, and forgiveness as your biggest pieces of meditation, and of course, accepting and surrendering to the now. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. This has been sort of an epic thank you. The messages that are coming out here, I don't know if I need to pull another message later on and just kind of do some meditation, but this is changing so much. I think it has to do with why it was so confusing and just constantly looking like it was a different color and a different type of message as we were starting the reading. I'm curious to see what's going on tomorrow. And like I said, there we might take a look to see what it is that they actually want from this situation. So thanks for being here with me. Thank you again from the very bottom of my heart. And I look forward to seeing you again in tomorrow's reading.